Hello everyone, it's Mr. Barden here. This is the first video that's just going to be kind of breaking down the various individual projects during the month of January that my sound design class will be doing. I made a little brief intro video that kind of explains the concept in a little bit more detail. That's not what I'm getting into here. This video, again, for my students, is going to break down all the bits. For anyone who's not taking my class, this will hopefully maybe give you some ideas of stuff you can do, things you can make, and hopefully generate some music. So let's talk about these in a little bit more detail. Again, just to reiterate the brief concept, all my students will be choosing, will have one thing they have to complete all of them do, but then of these 7 remaining assignments here, then they have to complete any 5. They can pick whatever ones they want to do. It was 5, right? Yeah, any 5 of the remaining 7. So that's the goal here. And I'm going to be breaking down each one of the projects in its own separate video. So let's just hop right into it. The first one is a mock podcast episode. So this will be a partner project, meaning you just by necessity have to have at least one other person that you're recording. However, each student must make and submit their own. If, Bob and Sally, work together and record a project, they have to each make their own individual one. They can work together on both their projects and make 2 separate little short podcast episodes, but they have to be different. They can't work on the same one and then both turn in the same thing for both. That's not going to work. Each person has to make and turn in their own and essentially be the person in charge. I have to say you can make the topic about anything, but for legal reasons, keep it school appropriate. So I'm not going to sit here and break down everything about a podcast. You've probably heard one. If not, just Google a podcast. They're everywhere. But your podcast has to have the following elements. Essentially, you're going to be making a little mini one, between 3 and 5 minutes. And it have to have these different things here. So there has to be a host and a guest, as if this podcast has been going on for forever. You're just having a guest on your show. There's to be a short intro and outro theme. It can be the same thing if you want, but it has to be there. A sponsor ad of 15 seconds max. And this is essentially going to work like an interview. The host character has to ask and get a response to 3 questions. Okay, so this could be really simple. It could be a bit more complex. It depends on the theme of the show and what you're exactly trying to achieve. But you have to ask 3 questions and get a response. Other than that, you need 4 sound effects. And then for grading purposes, you need to have made a basic script that shows, okay, we're going to play the intro and then ask, have the questions and the sounds. You can, this can be a little bit more generic if you want to be a bit more ad-libbed like the videos I'm doing right now. Or if you really want, you can write out the whole script and just read it into the microphones. But, don't just read it like this, like, hello, how are you? I am good. The weather was horrible getting here, though. Stuff like that. Don't put a little inflection into your voice. No one likes a boring podcast. Make it, at least mildly exciting. And we'll go on with what there. But pretty much what should happen is I should be able to listen to the podcast and follow along the script without any major surprises happening. All of this should be recorded in Studio One. This will be very easy to do either in the booth or with an audio interface. I've got this, you can't even see it. I'm not going to bother rearranging all my set up in my parents' dining room, or with the audio interfaces that we have in class, it's very easy just to plug in 2 microphones and there you go. We've already done something like this already, so I'm not going to break it all down, but everyone should record all of their bits into Studio One. From there, you can pretty much just arrange everything how you need. You don't necessarily have to record all of your sound effects live. If you find it, you can just, okay, and we'll just, nudge this over, stick the effect layer. You can essentially build up the illusion of the podcast after you've recorded all of your audio. And that's what I'm kind of leaning towards encouraging everyone to do, but I'm not here to get in the way of anyone's creativity. On a technical level, some of the things that should be there are, make sure all the levels are appropriate, so no audio clipping is happening. We want to hear all the bits. Things are important. We should hear the voices primarily. You should have all your sounds, appropriately placed on the timeline. If it says, we say this and then the ad starts and then we come back after the ad in your script, that's what should happen. I'm not worried as much about layering the effects as a teacher as I am about the timing of, this little handful of things. And then, you should clean up the vocals as much as possible. I'll be talking about this in class, just briefly, as we go. But, some of the plugins that will help with that, channel strip, reverb, EQ, things of that nature in Studio One. This will be very helpful for cleaning up your audio. And then once you're done, there's 3 things that you need to submit in order to have the full credit for this one. And that is the final audio of your project as a WAV file, the raw audio sound effects specifically. So maybe you have a boing effect or a, the intro, the outro stuff, those clips, anything that's not the voice recordings, I want you to attach those as well, just so I have them as raw, because again, you'll either be making them or more likely finding them online. So I just want to see what you've got used. And then the last thing is the script. So that way I can follow along and understand what's happening without having to, dive into it too hard. Again, I've got almost 30 of these to get through. So turn in those 3 things, what I'm looking for. Technically, this is what I'm expecting. And then these are the aspects that should be built into it. So that one shouldn't be too nuts. I'm actually expecting a fair amount of students to work on this because, again, you get to work with a person. Podcasts are fun and popular. It's all pretty straightforward. So that's where I'm going to end it. I'm going to figure out what in my parents' house is causing that beeping that you may or may not be hearing, but I can definitely hear. And this is where I'm going to end the video for this one. So everyone have a great day, and I'll see you all the next time that I see you.